All right, it's been a while since I've done this, but I am live. And I don't know if I've ever, well, I think maybe I've broadcast live doing artwork maybe a couple of times, but not quite like this, where I'm showing my ugly face. And I've got this new setup, and, it's kind of all operating at the same time, sound and video, and also doing the actual artwork. Right now, I am broadcasting from my LinkedIn page. I'm broadcasting to Dirk Hooper Plus on Twitter or X or whatever we're calling it this week. And I'm also broadcasting to my Dirk Hooper Artworks Facebook page. So if you're on any of those places, then you should be able to leave me comments, ask me questions, whatever, what have you. And I should be able to see that and respond to it, but realize that I'm doing art. So I may not get to it immediately. But if you have questions, or you want to know what the heck I'm doing, then I will do my best to explain it along the way. Doing artwork and talking at the same time is weird for me, since my entire life I've done artwork all by myself, and I've been very quiet. So in any case, this piece of artwork, which I'm going to back off of a little bit so you can see the full piece, is of a professional dominatrix from the UK, I believe she is. Her name is Dakota Rose. And I was particularly impressed with her abs, which is fascinating me right now. So I'm always on the lookout for opportunities to, learn from doing art. And so this is a portrait piece, and it is also an experimental piece. And I'm trying to get my act together because I'm going to be doing comic work soon. So I'm trying to work through a few inking techniques. I've already done that. You can see it's inked. I've done the layouts, I've done the pencils, and I've done the inks. So we're at that stage. And so now it's time for me to do my tone work. And I'm going to do that now. So what I do is I begin by choosing this layer. And then what I'm going to do is try to grab everything outside of the figure. And I was doing it the opposite way for the longest time, because that's the thing that made the most sense. It's not working. Let's see. Refer to all layers. Let's try that again. Keep in mind I have a slow computer. All right. So if you can see, I don't know how well it's rendering on there, but you've got these, what they call crawling ants or whatever, that is all over this piece. It's not everywhere, so I'm going to add to it. See, I believe it's this, so I'm going to add to it there. And I'm going to add to it here. So I'm just selecting everything outside of the figure, right? Here and here. And it actually got that, which I don't even know how it did that, but it did grab that. And I think that's everything. Yes. Now it's Sean Wilson, my buddy and fellow Rain King Studios member, who just said, why don't you select everything outside of the figure and then invert the selected area, which is what I just did. And then that way I didn't have to go the opposite direction, which was painting in all of this figure and doing this stuff. You're going to see the benefit of this in just one moment. So what I do first, just to kind of get this thing started correctly, is to choose a mid-tone, and then just fill in everything with the mid-tone. I've selected the interior area. Well, see, I've messed it up. I want it to only refer to the editing layer, which is the thing I just selected. So let's try again. Keep in mind, I do not have a fast computer. There we go. You see what it did? It grabbed all of that stuff on the inside. And what I'm going to do is lock that down and then duplicate it. And then I'll get to work. Duplicate layer. Here it is, tone copy. And that's the one that I will work off of. And the reason why I don't work off of that initial layer that I created there is because what I want to do is have that original, this right here, that I can go back to at any time. So anytime I want to, I can select this area. And the benefit of it is, so like I'm going to my watercolor and, you know, I'm going to start kind of picking my tones. I can always, you know, oh, well, I'll show you here first. I said I'm not used to talking during these things. So look, I can color outside here. Nothing happens. Nothing happens. So coloring here, nothing. But I color in here, but it only goes to the edge. So it saves me about 18 million years of rendering and stuff. And it allows me to be very loose. It allows me to be loose because I don't have to worry about being in the lines, right? So what I'm doing, I selected a mid-tone for this character and the punching bag. But now what I've done is gone about halfway back up the scale. So I'm painting a little bit darker. And I think what I'm going to do is make this much larger and hit this. This is a piece that is based on a photo. It's photo referenced, which is typically how I learn stuff, by, you know, going to life and finding out what, you know, the way reality works. And then when you go to, you know, to doing something that's all straight from your mind, then you have a point of reference. You don't just have to make it all up. So again, what I'm doing is I'm just putting in what will be, you know, your midtones are is that gray color that I put in there. And now I'm going up a step. So now it's about 3/4 darkness. And I'm just trying to, like, my light's coming in from like this direction, basically. And, you know, there is no right or wrong way to do it. This is just the way I do it. And typically what I will do is we'll work from the midtones to dark and then back to light. So the last thing that I paint are the highlights of the character. Typically like the white of their eyes, you know, like the little, not the actual white of their eyes, but the reflection that's in their eyes. That's probably one of the last things that I will do. Probably. So now, just for the sake of kind of getting her skin color right, I'm going to put all of that in there, and then I will go back again. anyone who's watching this, happy to answer questions for you if you wish. All right, back to the 3/4. And I also work from large, so I do large sections first. You can see it's a pretty large brush, and then as I get darker, I will get more detailed, and then eventually I start working backwards the other direction. So this is not black, but it's more black than it was, right? For those who are curious about such things, I am using a opaque watercolor brush in Clip Studio Paint Pro. This is just your basic stuff. This is not a fancy brush that I paid money for or anything. This is basically right out of the pack, right out of what they give you right at the beginning. So nothing fancy there. I have modified it a little bit. I will admit that, just to kind of get what I want out of it. I use typically to do this process, I use two different colored or two different styles of the watercolor brushes. They have one that's a transparent watercolor if I just want it to be really light, or I use the opaque watercolor, which is what I'm using right now. I use the opaque watercolor brush mostly because I really want you to see the strokes and stuff. That's just me. Keep in mind, just what I do is not necessarily what you should do. I'm just kind of sharing my methods. Your methods may be better. Maybe you can tell me what you're doing. But this is what I've figured out so far. Moving down on the size here. Kind of moving around the figure a little bit. It's pretty much up to you whether you want to do that or not. You could pick, you could hyper focus on a particular area and do that area, or you can move around. I've found that it seems to come out to be more balanced for me if I move around a little bit. Try to keep moving. When I really get serious about the face, I get right up on it, get very, very into it. I will get closer on this thing and we'll get much more detailed. No questions. If anyone has a question to ask, I'll be glad to answer it. Do my best. what I have discovered with faces is, particularly women's faces, what I like to do is uh, kind of smudge all that around and make sure that it is not, uh, it doesn't have as many lines as as the rest of the body. So, I'm trying to emphasize certain things with the body. Um, I don't necessarily want to emphasize those things with the face. And again, if it was a man, I probably wouldn't do it that way. Probably wouldn't do it that way. Do something else. In this phase right here, I'm just trying to, again, kind of trying to have fun, trying to enjoy this process, stay loose, kind of just move this digital paint around. It's not paint, it's digital paint. But there's zero difference between what I'm doing right here and what I would be doing if it was, it was whatever, acrylics or markers or whatever. Same process, exactly. It's just if I really seriously screw up, it's very easy to fix in digital. And maybe more importantly, maybe a lot more important, um, I can kind of go for stuff a little bit. If it's if it works, then great. If it doesn't work, it's not the end of the world. It's all right. I can continue on. That's the big benefit. I'm doing her legs now. Back to this. I didn't do much earlier, so I'm going back to a bigger brush. If you do everything with a small brush, it looks sketchy. So what I've discovered that works for me is to make sure to use bigger brushes for larger areas and then dial it down, then get closer in on this thing. And you'll also notice that, like, this bag is part of this punching bag is part of the routine here, but I am not paying as much attention to it, and it will not go as dark as like what's happening here on her gloves or what's happening in her abs or what's happening in her hair. And that's because I want to keep this in the background. That's the philosophy there. So I think I'm kind of to the point where I need to get closer and work on her face a little bit. So my routine on that, I'm pretty dark, but that's okay. I want to work dark and then try to legitimately paint here. So just like I was talking about before, I'm backing off a little bit here and there on the size. So now this brush is smaller, right? Just trying to pick up where it's darker on the face. Again, this photo reference, you might have seen the photo earlier. I'm just comparing and contrasting right now. Just trying to get not the color, but the tone correct. Like right in here, super dark. That will probably get my full dark treatment. Typically, I go dark with the lips, and then I will paint in the lighter areas. one more time if anyone has any questions. People are just watching and then going on about their day, which is cool. This is the middle of the day. I don't necessarily, and I haven't done this in a long time, so I don't necessarily expect anyone to ask me any questions. But if you have them, I'm here. I'm glad to answer them if I can. So you can see what I've done. I've put all of this in here. Now, what I'm going to do is choose a blender, and I'm just going to make it all soft. And I may do this several times. So you're going to lose a lot of detail here with this, but the detail I will put in when I go light. So I'm going to go down one more step. Now I am full black. It won't render as black as my inks, but it's going to be pretty dark. Oh, I'm still in blend mode. Here we go. See how dark that is? I try to get the full range in here. It's not always easy. Color is in one hand, like one of the most fun things that I do, but on the other hand, one of the most frustrating things that I do, because stuff that works great for one piece sometimes doesn't work so great for the other pieces. It's very unpredictable. Part of what makes it fun. I made her I made a I made a mistake when I contacted her to do this piece. I didn't ask what color her eyes were, which is something I usually do. And the reason that I ask for color of eyes is because sometimes, even with photos, it's not so easy to figure that out. And this is one of those cases. I'm not 100% sure what her eyes are, what color her eyes are. But I think they're hazel. So I'm going with hazel. That's not going to matter right now. Also, you'll notice that I didn't put her eyeballs or her pupils. I didn't put that in ink, and that's because I find that the eyes are kind of more dreamy when I paint them in. So instead of doing pen and ink for the eyes, typically what I will do is I'll paint them in. All right, we're kind of getting there. Again, I think I'm going to soften up whatever's going on here a little. All right. Let's check to see if I have any questions. I do not. So Now I've gone all the way up to black, and you can see kind of how all of this is working out. Still a little detail work. And by the way, if you're watching a replay of this and you got a question or something, even if you didn't see this live, no big deal. Just ask me the question in the comments and I will do my best to fill in that information. You know what? I missed something right there. So, shame on me. I was trying to catch everything and I did not catch this. So, now I am. And you see how it's still a little gray underneath there? You know why? Because I still have this other tone. Now it's white, which is just the color of the background. But I missed that when I knocked it out. So when you miss it, you got to fix it. There we go. Much better. All right. So now I'm going to back off a little bit. Hey, I've had some more people join me here. If you have a question about what I'm doing, I'm just about to move to another phase here. If you have a question about what I'm doing or you want to tell me something, then feel free to leave me a comment if you are on LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitter, because I'm broadcasting all three of those places right now. Okay. I'm just kind of taking a moment to evaluate where I am, because what I'm about to do is back off of all of this and start putting in my lighter tones, which is quite a bit of fun for me. Fun for me. All right. Back to the opaque watercolor. Back to, yeah, that's about right. Not completely small, not completely white, but kind of a medium-sized brush there. You know, just that I'm, again, kind of trying to find large areas to do this. put some details in this. Then I've gone back up in my size again. And what I'm doing here is just trying to put this white, this lighter tone in with simple strokes, and then I will go back and we'll kind of equal all of this out. But you can get a good idea of what's happening here. This is a pretty stark way of doing this, because right now it looks weird. I get it. I know you're looking at it and you're going like, that ain't gonna work. But it will probably work. Probably. So now I'm kind of going crazy with the sizes of my my brushes. Because each stroke is a little different. Now, I told you earlier that I blend this stuff, so time to blend it. I think you get a pretty good idea of what's going on there. Back to my, let's get off blending, and now we're going to go back to my regular deal here. So when I get off of the face, we're going to go back to a much wider brush again, and the whole process starts over. Not too terribly long ago, I started with this method of painting, which is, I mean, I don't even know who to give credit to on this, because I kind of, in some ways, discovered it on my own, but it's also kind of influenced by some of the artists that I enjoy. But what I do is kind of super angular strokes where I will pick the size of the brush, and then I will go in there and try to nail it all in one or two strokes. I will go back in there and do what I just did, which is just kind of mold it a little bit, make it what I want it to be. But the idea is to kind of get that look with as many or with as few strokes as I can. And what that does for me is um, it kind of simplifies what I'm doing. You know, and graphically, I like the way it looks. Keep checking to see if there are any comments. No comments yet. That's okay. You don't have to. I try to do this thing where I'm doing strokes in kind of angular opposite directions. Again, that's just what I've found works for my style. I've also discovered that this is the phase right here where you're doing, where you put the light in, where it really starts to become painting. Um, painting, when you're doing darker colors, there's painting involved, obviously. But I think that whether my stuff functions properly or not really comes down to um, how well I paint in my light stuff. Like, for example, around her belly button, there is just a little piece of light here, right in this darkness. And man, that is really going to shine that up. Do you see how that makes everything pop out there? That's pretty cool. And again, kind of down here, it's all dark. But if I hit that right there, then you start seeing the different planes. And anyway, realize, of course, that things that are impressive to me don't have to be impressive to you. It's okay. Believe me, I sit around and recognize crazy stuff at times just because I'm thinking about how things look, the how light hits things, and try to figure out how I would render things like in real life. And yeah, that makes some people wonder what the hell's going on with me from time to time. Sometimes I just check out for a little bit. It's okay. See how painting that, see how that popped everything out? We got all these different planes going on now. Yeah, that's the magic. Still happy to answer anyone's questions if anyone has any. No one seems to. I realize that most people are at work right now. So I get that. I'm doing this in the middle of the day. This is the thing that I am doing before I have to do something that's not fun at all, something that's more like accounting. I mean, I won't say it's accounting, but because I don't do that, but um, it's real work, real work. So I'm playing first. This is play work. Still very important for a lot of different reasons. Fun to broadcast it. So hopefully at this point, you're seeing kind of what I'm doing here. Back off again. Take a look at the overall piece. I should spend a little bit of time on that bag. So while I'm down at this level, I'm going to hit this and this. That's the first time I've hit the back key yet, which, by the way, is pretty unusual for me. I I really like using that back key, but in this case, I haven't used it a lot. I find that the more that you just give yourself to this process, the better off this stuff tends to be. More new viewers. If you're interested in anything, I'm happy to answer any questions if you want to put it into the comments. So what I'm going to try to do is get a big, notice how big this thing is, and I'm just going to come down through here and hit that and that and that. And then I'm going to mess it up a little so that it all doesn't look like one stroke. And then I won't say that's done, but it is getting there. All right. We're getting close. We're getting close. Her abs came out great. I was particularly interested in doing this because I really wanted to do her abs. And that was a good choice. All right, so now I'm not at the whitest white, but we're getting close. And you notice how that kind of sticks out there. And then I'm going to go way down and I'm going to do some details here like this. And then this. some of this. Hey, if you're watching this and you're not commenting, which you're not, please leave a like or share this. It helps a lot. It helps a lot, folks. Some of you may have lost me there for a minute. My apologies if that's the case. I'm still here. I'm still standing. I've knocked this brush way down. It's really white and it's really small, which is allowing me to get some details here, like the folds in the clothes. Just get some details. All right, I really got to fix up her face here. Time to get closer on that and make the magic happen. Or the closest I'm going to get to making magic. So again, really white. What I'm doing now, really white with a small brush. What I'm going to do now is go in here and put some details in. I'm shutting up because I'm concentrating. Again, I'm kind of over rendering on some of this, and then I will go back and soften it up a bit. I am not blending here. I've got a little bit darker brush, and I'm just going over everything. This is literally painting here. We're getting there. Back to blending, just to knock those harsh lines off. If this was a guy that I was painting, I might leave those harder edges a little bit, but I might not. I also might not. Back to white, back to a small brush. Go very white, and I'm going to hit this area. That's too big. I'm going to hit this area right here on the tip of her nose. A little bit bigger. Because the light's coming in from this direction, I'm going to kind of mess up her eye right there, here and here. And then add a little highlight up here. There and there. And a little bit here. All right. Time to back off again. See where we're at. It's pretty good. Still another couple little things I want to do here. I'd say we're pretty close on this thing. I'm probably at the point where I should just let it be, which is always the question when you're an artist of any sort, musician, writer, creative person. There's got to be a point where you go, okay, I think we're there. So there's the tone painting. And, people ask, why the heck do you paint this thing in black and white? It's because what that does is it separates out one of the most important part of the painting, which is the tone, to run stuff from pure white to pure black, and then find that gray area in between. If you have too much of one thing or the other, it's not going to work. At least if you want your piece to be dynamic in that way, if you want that full range, so that it looks like a, a, a photo that has a full range. Now, some people want everything to be super dark, or they want everything, and sometimes I do, or they want everything to be super light. I'm gearing towards kind of right down the middle, with most of it being kind of, in that mid range. But there's no right or wrong answer here. I'm just explaining why I'm doing it in black and white to start with, because when you start adding color in, color, arrests your attention. And sometimes, because color is so powerful, it takes over. So this prevents it from taking over for me. It allows me to concentrate on this tone first and foremost, and then anything that I lay over this will be, correct to me. It will be what I did. All right. Again, for anyone who is watching, if you want to leave any questions or comments, then please feel free. And if not, I will move to the next portion of this, which is to just simply going to kind of kill this. I deselected that area, which is what I should have done earlier. All right. So now I'm killing both of these. I'm going back to my line art, and I'm doing the colors, the straight colors. So this is going to look a little bit like, back in when they did hand-drawn animation back in the olden days, they used to do painted cells. This kind of looks like this. So I'm just assigning a color to these different areas, and I have to kind of figure out what that's going to be. But I'm going to try to match exactly what I'm looking for here, and it may work and it may not. So I'm creating a new flats. This is what I call flats. Some people do not do it this way, but this is the way that I do it, right? So I'm just using the fill function here. And yes, I'm coloring over the lines and everything. Doesn't matter. It's okay. Just trying to get those basic colors out there, map those in all at once. Hopefully, I have that right. See, it's already kind of interesting. Um, in the original piece, she had a white shirt on, which I think is pretty cool, and then like some different colored shorts here. But I think what I'm going to do is unify those colors. I'm not sure where I want to go with that. She has some strawberry blonde hair, which I'm going to try to nail here. All I'm doing is using the fill function here. And that's still not a quick process. Um, with the hair because there's so many lines here. It really doesn't want to participate. I will get I will get better here in a minute, but I'm just trying to lay out the general ideas on this. Kind of like the white. I guess I could put her in kind of a white. I'm not going to go full white, but let's see. Let's try this. Whatever I choose to do for her top, I'm gonna do the same thing on the bottom too. I don't know if that's my final decision there on that, but there it is. And then I'm going to make, because they're not as important, I'm going to try to make the bag and her gloves match. Because that will unify them in some ways. There we go. For those of you playing the home game, you might notice or care that yellow, which is kind of her skin color and her hair and her top, is the opposite color of this purple. Not necessarily this purple, but purple in general. So I'm just trying to make both colors pop by choosing what they call opposite colors on the color wheel. All right. So again, I'm going to back off for a second, see what I got. Notice it's not all colored in. What I'm going to do is go back in with a different brush. This is going to be just like my inking brush. And I'm going to fill in all the stuff that it didn't get. So I'm going to start with this. I'm not ending with this. I'm going to go back to my skin color. And her hair color. Now, when I got closer, you know what I saw? I got to fill in some stuff here. I'll just fill that out with the wrong color. All right. And then her t-shirt here. I admitted to you earlier that I did not ask her what color her eyes were, but my estimate is that it's hazel. So first what I'm going to do is I'm going to color in very light blue on her eyeballs, just like that. And then hazel, which is kind of green or yellowish, right? So I'm going to come right in between there and do that right there. And then her lipstick is kind of reddish. And that's going to be the most saturated thing I do here. So there's the most saturated thing in the whole piece right there is her lips. One of the people that I studied before I started getting serious about color always said to emphasize one color, pick one color that you really want to pop and let it be saturated, the most saturated thing in your piece, and make it, make it good. I mean, make the choice well. Um, I'm trying to decide if I want to pick a different color for these gloves or just let it be. Because they're gonna be okay is because I've got the tone on them. I think I'm gonna let it be. I can go back in there if I want to. All right, there's the flats, and I'm gonna lock that in. Maybe. Yep, lock it. I lock my layers because if I don't lock my layers, I will be rendering on the wrong layer, and I have destroyed hours of work by rendering on the wrong layer before. And in some cases, I've rendered on the wrong layer and I've just left it because there's just no way to go back and fix the thing. I mean, I could start over from scratch, but that's usually a really bad mistake, in my opinion, in my experience. All right. So now we're going to kill that and go back to my tone copy. And I'm going to add some color here. And I'm not sure, I think I'm going to go blue on this. And the reason why I do that is because if you don't do it, this grayish look comes through in those colors, in those flat colors, because the flats are going to run at like a percentage. And so if I start pulling off those flat colors, which are, perfectly colored, and then let some of that tone seep through, I don't just want it to be, I don't just want it to be in that one color, in the grays. I want it to have some life. So I'm going to choose color on this. I'm going to peg it to that. What I just did, you see this little pink line here? That means that it's attached to this tone copy, which means that it's only going to do this effect on the layer that's directly below it. And I'm going to title that color tone so I know what I did there. So I said I'm going to go with blue. I think that's about right. And then I'm just going to get the biggest thing I can and just go over it. See what's happening here? Still coloring within the lines because I have it selected. Still have some control over the saturation level on this. So like I could leave this gray if I wanted to. I don't want to, but I could. I just want an overall. You can also see what the magic of doing this and using layers, which is no matter, I could literally, some people would enjoy, just this blue tone copy. There would be some people that prefer this. They'll be like, this is the coolest version of this. Is this piece here that's just blue. And, it looks like a sepia tone piece, it's not bad. It can be fun. And, realizing, of course, that this could be any color. This could be red, it could be green, could be whatever you want. All right, we're getting close. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on my flats again. And now is the fun part where I try to figure out how much of the flats I'm going to let through and how much of the color tone I'm going to let through. So typically on these flats, I let through about 80%. So there it is at 80 or 70. It's a little too bluish. I did put blue in the background. So I'm going to go up a little bit. Oh, I also forgot something else, which is to put it under, which one was it? I think it's hard light. Soft light. Color looks pretty good this time. Overlay? No. Although that's pretty cool. Hard light is what I thought would work, but well, there it is at 100%. There it is at 50%. I really think that color is going to win out on this one. Let's go normal and then back off on it. Well, normal of all things. That blue's coming in so strong. I want to back off of that too. Oh, here we go. That's better. Yeah, that's better. So now, let's see. I'm just trying a lot of different combinations to get the look that I want. And this is the look, this is about the fifth time I've done this. So sometimes it works great and sometimes it does not. I have more new people that are watching. If you have any questions about what the heck it is that I'm doing right now, I'm happy to talk about it. The more I back off of this flats, the more darkness I get in it. Like I said, this is about the fifth time I've done this, and it kind of comes out different every time I do it. So I'm still learning, which is why I'm also sharing. That's pretty close right there. I Really want it to be more saturated. Oh, wait a minute. I've got a comment. Hey, Damon. How you doing? Yeah, here's the thing. Because I considered putting on some music in the background. Um, the problem with putting music on is that I don't have any copyright on the music. So I could either play some generic music or kind of play it really low in the background, which wouldn't help much. Uh, anyway, when I do artwork, I usually listen to either the news or I listen to music if I really want to get deep into it. Um, right now, because I'm broadcasting, I'm not listening to anything. And if you think that it's super quiet, it's really quiet for me. I'm working. I kind of like the hard light. Like I could back off of this quite a bit and I lose my saturation. That's close to where I want it right there. Normal is that. Hard light is that. Color is that. If I was going to do that, I'm going to pump a lot of color in there. Honestly, this is the longest I've ever taken on this part of the process, and it's just because I'm not getting the exact. Oh, I'm just not getting the exact thing that I've been looking for here. That's not bad. Let's do this hard light. Better. Damon says that Facebook is even more uptight than YouTube about background music. Yeah, they all are. And I'm broadcasting at the same time on Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. So even if, for example, I was broadcasting something that YouTube gave me and gave me the rights to do, it might not have the rights for Facebook. So it's just difficult. It's just difficult to get it all to work correctly. Let's see what this looks like normal. Normal. Oh, not bad. Wait a minute. I'm just not going to be able to do this in hard light. Flats. Let's kill that entirely and see what I got. I might not even color this. I'm close here. All right. I'm going to call this good for the time being. I am not using my color tone for the first time. All right, let's see. What does now I've got people talking to me. Damon says, it's about time I commissioned another art piece from you. I did a piece for Damon last year. It was an X-Men piece, which was a lot of fun. Learned a lot of things, including things that I'm using here on this. He commissioned that piece. It's a lot of fun. And he says that he last year he was sick for 8 straight months. Oh my gosh. Who's that even happened to? I mean, I've been there. I don't know. I don't know if it's been 8 straight months, but I've been sick for an extended period of time, and not like in the hospital sick, but just just not feel good over extended period. That's pretty rough. 9 months, he says, instead of 8. So I think that we're pretty close here. I'm going to lock everything down. The next thing I want to do, and I mean, I could just leave it like this, but I think I'm going to put a background in here. So for the first thing that I'm going to do is deselect my deal. Take a look at it, see how it looks. I think it looks pretty good. It's different. It's different for me. This effect that I'm getting here is a little different. But nice, soft. It's pretty nice. All right. So next, I got to put some background in here, and I'm going to go through the exact same process as I did before by coloring in the background first, and then using an overlay over that. Holy cats, Damon. Damon had a hard time. Yeah, this is an actual person. This is a portrait of a person named Dakota Rose, and so I'm not going to add any tattoos because she doesn't have any that's readily available. So no tattoos this time. All right, let's see. What I'm going to do is a little bit of experimentation. My thought is to make like a gradient that goes from the top left corner darker down to the bottom right corner lighter. So what I really want is something kind of painterly, and I just picked up a few new brushes, and I'm going to see how these are. I don't know if this is going to work or not, but I'm going to try it. So let's try this thick paint, maybe thick paint 1, and I'm going to go way high. Notice how big that thing is? And I'm not trying to overpower this frame. So yeah, this is probably not going to look at how slow it is. Oh, hello. That's not going to work. It's going to take me forever to get here. So I'm going to kill those. Oh, this is almost always good. So I'm just going to stick with this because I like this. I like how, notice how much quicker it is. Good Lord. Damon, thank you for watching and for chiming in here. I haven't had a lot of people do that, so I appreciate it. So again, I'm just creating a gradient. I'm going to go down a little bit, put some more stuff in. Just a little painterly gradient. A little whiter. Backgrounds are fun. When I do them like this, when I just paint in backgrounds, you know, I'm kind of past the point now where I have to worry about whether the thing is rendered correctly or I got the colors right or whatever. Now I just kind of get to have a little bit of fun. Yeah, I talked about this, and look, nothing is final until it's final. Damon is suggesting red gloves with black around the wrist. Thought it might pop out more because they're currently gray, similar to the punching bag. Um, if you if you were here earlier, you would have heard that what I wanted to do is unify both the both her mitts and the bag, which is of course what I've done. And I debated on whether to put some detail in on the gloves, but honestly, I don't want those gloves to pop. I want your focus to be right up here on her face. And the way that I do that is by saturating her hair pretty extremely and by having green eyes and red lips. So the entire focus of the thing is is right here, which is right where I want it. Yes, I could color these mitts, crazy colors or whatever, but by design, I have removed their importance by unifying the gloves and the bag and making them kind of a purplish grayish color. So now what I'm doing is I'm going to a correction layer here, and what I'm going to use is a thing called a gradient map. Gradient maps on this is Clip Studio Paint Pro for those who are playing the home game. But this kind of originally came from Photoshop. It's their version of it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you that I can kind of make this background look whatever color I want to. And what I'm trying to do is find out kind of what would play off of this the best. So like I choose that and it gives me a gradient through all of these colors. Actually, the blue's not bad. There's a lighter blue. This will be darker blue, right? I like that because again, it doesn't take as much focus away. That looks like the sun itself is behind her. This will too. I don't hate that. I don't hate it. I don't think I'm going to like yellow because yellow matches her hair. I really don't want that. That's not bad. And realize I'm using stuff that's baked in. Oh, that's pretty good. My thought was to make everything lighter behind her, but maybe making it darker is the way to go. Because notice how she popped out there when I did that? Purple's pretty cool. Green should be all right, although that matches her eyes. I don't like that. Again, I want the only green in this to be her eyes. That's not bad. Too much yellow. Mm. Pinky. That's yellow, but that's not bad. This is the benefit of doing things. People are like, why do you do digital? It's like, well, I do digital because of stuff like this. I mean, I get to kind of explore a million different options here. Again, with the green, I don't know if I'm 100% behind that. It's not bad. That's the gradient that I set up for the comic book I did, those few pages. That was another gradient for a comic. Man, these gradients are great because once you kind of establish that, you can run it through, 4 or 5 pages and it unifies everything. Kind of like the pink, I got to tell you. Uh, Pink is it's bright. For anyone who's watching, did you have any favorites there? Too much. Now, what I can do here to get a little bit more range is to see where that is. You see where it's kind of in the middle of this thing? If I pop it down here, I'm going to get a lot more lighter stuff down in here. See what happened? Just kind of what I intended. And then I can adjust how it's applied on here, as you can see. I just messed up what I was doing. Now I feel like that's too dark. I'm not sure if I'm totally on board with that, but I'm going to start playing with some of these other settings and see what happens. So let's try again my soft light and my hard light and my color. That's not bad. I think we're getting there. So now I'm going to go back to my creepy crawly deal, and back on this layer. I'm probably not going to mess with the heavy bag any more than I have, to be honest. Um, because again, I don't want it to attract any more attention than it is. It's already kind of sharing the space with the character. And there's nothing wrong with throwing stuff out. That's why I'm doing this on here. So what I'm going to do next is go back to this, but I'm going to subtract it. So instead of rendering, I'm going to be taking it away. And I'm going to create a little border around this. Just like this. Just a little graphic thing that I've done lately, which gives it a little extra je ne sais quoi. What I might do is go a little bit more, well, all of the kind of whites and stuff due to the nature of what I've done here is kind of washed out. So it's just the nature of what I got here. Damon says that he likes the background with the purple and white border. That's the magic of putting that border on it, is it just kind of makes it look a little bit more interesting. I kind of discovered that not too long ago. What I did is I found out that other artists were doing stuff like that. We're getting pretty close here. What I usually do is add a little a few other things to it, which we're approaching 2 hours here, which is crazy. But yeah, I think I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. So the background is done. All of that is done. What I do now is I go back to my watercolors and I do transparent and I kick it up quite a bit. And now what I'm going to do is add some rose tint to the skin of this character. And why red? Because red is the color of blood, and your blood is running under your skin. And so if you put a little red tint in there, then it in some cases looks a little bit like on women it looks like some makeup, but on anyone it just gives the body, the skin, a little bit more of a healthy look to it, like it's like you're really alive. Like if I was drawing a zombie or something, I would skip this step. This is not a step I would do. And what I usually do is kind of concentrate on, like places where there might be shadows or places like joints. You can't see her hands, but her hands would be really a good target for this. In this case, kind of, her stomach is good, right? You see what's happening here? See how she's starting to kind of come to life? She's got kind of a hip bone here, so I'm going to hit that. And I mean, this is art. It's not science. There's a little science involved. All right, that's better. And it matches the background, which is kind of an extra bonus. Let's see what this looks like now, the color tone, if I put that back in there. Yeah, I don't know if that's working this time, which is crazy. In the past, I've really liked that, but I don't think so this time. All right, folks, we're getting close. Now, I have to be honest with you, though. I'm probably going to go back and mess with this later on because that's what I do. So it may not end up looking exactly like this when I'm done, but it's going to look close to this. So my last little step here that I'm going to take for this video is to I'm going to sign it. And I didn't really leave myself any room here to sign it, which is pretty funny. So I got to figure out where I'm going to sign this. I could do it on the bag here. I could do it kind of in here. I could do it. Nah, that ain't going to work there. I don't want it to be too high. I think I'm going to do it on the bag. So I'm going to click this and find out where some of the other colors that I've already used and pick something. Let's try that. And I always cock the thing to the side there a little. Be darker. It's going to have to be lighter. Oh. I'm putting it on the wrong layer, folks. This is amateur stuff here. It's amateur hour. Let's try this again. Back to this. Still not right. There we go. All right. There it is. It's signed, folks. If anyone has anything else they want to ask or any comments they want to make, now's the time to do that. Because I'm about to wrap this thing up. There's how it looks right now. Before I post it, I may mess with it a little bit more. Do it instead of while I'm broadcasting live. I'll play with it. Maybe I'll sit on it, look at it tomorrow morning. That might be a good idea. Look at it with fresh eyes. Maybe it's done. Maybe it's not. Thanks to everyone who watched here today. I think I had pretty good views on this crazy thing. I sure do appreciate Damon for chiming in and having some suggestions and giving me some comments and stuff, because that's kind of the benefit of doing these things live, is that you can have a little bit of interaction. He says one last thing here. He says that actually looks kind of cool with his signature on the bag. Thank you very much. Thanks again to Damon. Thanks to everyone who chimed in or who tuned in to watch this. I will be doing this regularly with anything that I can broadcast. Not all of my artwork I can broadcast live, but this I certainly can. So there you go. In any case, thanks to everyone. Have a great day, and I'll do this again soon.